Well, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Tyler Anderson. I run this channel called TRF, and today's video is going to be kind of a continuation, extrapolation, you could say, on my Skeeter FX series. Now, this is a series that I'm filming to kind of detail everything that is my bass boat. I am super blessed to be able to partner with a company like Skeeter, and so I thought that I would take the advantage of having this boat to show you guys everything that I love about it. And of course, today's video, as you saw by the title, is how I store my bass fishing tackle in my bass boat here. Now, every single bass boat owner has a different way of doing it, and of course every brand has different ways of organizing and storing tackle, and so I wanted to explain the way that I do it, the way that I think functions best in terms of a tournament fisherman and somebody like me that films YouTube videos. So hop along. And if you guys have not watched the video that I filmed, I think 2 or 3 days ago here on the channel and released, that is my video detailing exactly what all the storage looks like on this boat. Stop what you were doing and click the link up here in the corner or the link down in the description. I will also have it pinned in the comment section, because that video is very important to helping you guys understand why I store the tackle in this compartment and the one behind the passenger seat. So without further ado, let's jump into this thing. If the background here is distracting, I apologize. It is game day here in College Station, so we've got tons of people picking up their RVs to go tailgate. But I'm gonna get the 2 big boxes of soft plastics that I keep here in the back of the boat and move them to the front deck. That way we can have a better viewing angle to talk about exactly what I have in these tackle boxes. But like I said, I keep my tackle in 2 main compartments in the boat. One of those being the main tackle storage in the middle, and one of those being the tackle storage, or really general storage, behind the passenger seat here on the port side of the boat. And so the reason why I keep my soft plastic specifically, occasionally an extra life jacket, and occasionally my heavy weights if I'm fishing a ton of weighted stuff, that'll go back here, because I've just found that it's best to keep as much heavy stuff in the back as you can. I'm not gonna say make sure you keep all your weights, all your hooks, weigh everything out on a scale to make sure you have more, heavy stuff in the back than in the front. But I've just found that a lot of soft plastics is kind of heavy, and so it's best to keep in the back of the boat to get a little bit better of a hole shot and a little bit better high speed on your bass boat. So I'm gonna put these 2 on the front deck, and we'll talk about these 2, and then of course jump into that compartment as well. So the reason why I keep my soft plastics in 2 big Tupperware boxes is because I like to have as little variance in location as possible. So if I kept every bag of soft plastics by themselves, then I would have to go searching through my boat to find the one thing in soft plastics. And then if I kept them in bags, of course you can't fit that many bags of soft plastics individually into a big bag like a Bass Mafia bag or something like that. And so of course you'd have more bags to search through and more compartments to go through. And I've heard of guys keeping soft plastics in like Plano boxes. And if that's the case, if they're craws, you can keep a lot in there, but if it's like a Cinco or a big worm, you can only keep like maybe 4 or 5 packs of worms in one big box. I don't think the space efficiency is wise there, and so that's why I keep things in 2 big Tupperware boxes. So the first box here that I have is basically, actually these 2 should go in this box. They're a little messed up right now, I apologize. That's not right. We're gonna do this box first. So within this box, I have basically all of my worms. So these boxes here are fluid. They're always changing throughout the year. I don't always have the same 2 boxes. I have actually 3 or 4 more in my garage back home in Austin, at my parents' house, where I keep a lot of soft plastics and extra tackle. But this one is basically my worm and finesse box. And so in here, I have a Ziploc bag. Now, if I do have bags, I prefer to keep the bags in the bag in the box. I like to keep everything contained as much as I can. And so this is my drop shot bag. I don't fish drop shots a whole lot, and when I do, I like to keep it simple. And so in here, I've got some very standard drop shot worms. I've got Berkeley flatworms. I've got a lot of Strike King Dream Shots. I've got a few Beast Coast little swim baits. Duo Realis sent me some baits as well that I used in New York for bed fishing. So I've got a lot of different drop shot baits in here. And then of course, you've got the classic Zoom worms. You've got, who doesn't throw the Robo Worm in Margarita Mutilator, am I right? Clear Lake, folks. So that is basically my drop shot bag, and of course most of these are in a worm form factor, and so they are contained within the worm box. And then within the rest of the worm box, I have everything from Strike King Ochos to Finesse worms. I don't even know what brand these are, but I put them in a Ziploc bag because I had a lot of them laying around. I've got trick worms, and I've got big Strike King cutter worms. All that stuff within the worm category is housed here, and as the summer goes on, I have more and more big worms that I use. And then I also, to kind of go along with the drop shot, finesse, I have all of my Ned rig and tube stuff in here, because A tube I consider more of a craw than a worm, but a Ned rig I definitely consider a worm. It's just a little tiny worm. So I've got all sorts of Ned rig soft plastics in this soft plastic bin. And then, like I said, that one is of course fluid. I'm always moving stuff in and out. But like I said, the worms and the drop shot stuff, kind of finesse, is always in that Tupperware box. Next box. The next box we have is my soft plastic craws, creature baits, and swim bait box. So I have, okay, I guess it's my shad and craw box. So I throw a lot more worms than I do craws. And if I throw craws, they're usually in their own box, in the day box, because you don't go through that many of them. So in here I have all of my shad presentations. So I've got my Kitex, I've got my, I've got my small Kitex, I've got bigger ones, I've got all sorts of brands. Now I did recently sign with Strike King, so a lot of this stuff will be replaced with Strike King soft plastics here in the next few weeks. So very excited about that little acquisition there. But I've got, like I said, I've got some Rage swimmers, I've got some Kitex. All that jazz goes in its own Ziploc bag, like I said, within the box. And then to go along with the theme of this box, I do have, of course, creature baits and such, which I used a ton of in Minnesota, and I have not had the chance to restock since then. That's why this box feels a little bit light, because it's actually not fully packed. And I've got, of course, some game hogs, some Strike King, I've got some rodents, I've got some structure bugs, all the flipping craws and the creature baits I keep in this box. And if I have too many creature baits in this box, of course, I can take out the Ziploc bags, zip them up, and put them right next to these in that little slot that I have there on the back compartment. So that is how I store all my soft plastics. I like to keep them, like I mentioned, in the original packaging and with all the baits that are like themselves. I don't want to separate them into different compartments. That way there's no confusion. So that's how I organize this. But what you guys probably are really excited for is to see how I organize my big tackle storage compartment right here. So this is the glorious tackle compartment where all of my favorite lures are housed. And of course, I want to walk you guys through as much of this as I possibly can. Now, the good thing about being mic'd up here on my body is that I can take the camera off and actually point it in the compartments here. And so that's what I'm going to do. You're not going to see my face for a whole lot of the rest of this video until the very end, but I want to show you guys in the best way that I can exactly what's in this compartment. So we're going to hop to the back here. We're going to unclip the camera, and I'm going to sit down, so hopefully my shadow doesn't get in the way too much. But as you can see, I keep it pretty organized, so I don't have a whole lot of stuff laying around, but I do have a whole lot of stuff laying around underneath these. So the organization is not as good as you might think it is, but it's also not horrible. So up here in the top, I have one box. Now this used to carry a net. Skeeter has a handy dandy, net thing they put on every FX boat. I prefer not to have that net. I have a net down there. So I put in this top thing a box that houses different things throughout the year, but right now it is my hair jig box because I just got back from New York and Minnesota, and I was fishing a lot of hair jigs. So that is a box that I put a ton of hair jigs in. Again, not trocar hooks, it's just a trocar box, and it fits perfectly in that slot there where I can put my hair jigs. Now we're going to start in the top here. So the slots for the tackle boxes, of course, they continue 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. So I can fit 4 more boxes in here, but I actually prefer to have an open area in the front where I can house basically everything that I'm using for the videos at that time. So right now, you might be able to see I have a old vintage tackle box, my grandpa's old tackle box that I got when he passed away, doing some videos from that box. And then I have in here, I have some extra treble hooks that I was doing stuff with. I have hair jigs, I have some finesse worms. I like to keep everything in there, of course, covered by something so it can't flop around. So I put that box over there. Occasionally I put this blue Bassmaster bag. I put that over those to kind of keep everything flopping around. But that is where I keep all the stuff that I'm working on at the time. Now, as you can see down there in the inside, there are 6 rod slots, 3 on that side and 3 on that side. If you watch the video about my boat storage, I do store rods over here, not in here, just to make more room for tackle. So I keep my fly rod right there on the right side, just in case I ever want to hop off the boat, hit a creek, that kind of thing. I have the fly rod in there. Then moving over here, hopefully the shadow isn't too bad. I've got 5 or 6 boxes that I keep in the boat at all times. I have a few more in my house at Austin that I always keep stuff in to kind of rotate throughout the year. But this is what I've kept in my boat all summer. So on the 2 sides of the storage box, I have basically some space here. Like I said, the fly rod goes there. And then I have some more squarish boxes like this box and this box that fit, of course, where the big tackle boxes cannot. So as you can see, I have an extra box of hooks. Then on the back side, I have my spinnerbait box. And you guys know that spinnerbaits are not my favorite, but I throw them every once in a while and they catch some dang fish. So I try to keep buzzbaits and spinnerbaits in this handy dandy box that holds 22 spinnerbaits, it says right there on the lid. So I can probably fit more than 22 in this thing. There's just 22 slots. You can fit 2 or 3 per slot. So I've got some shad spinnerbaits, I've got some chartreuse spinnerbaits, of course I've got white, black, and blue buzzbaits. And that is all that I need to talk about that box, because who wants to hear about that? Then on this side, the square box that I have is all of my scent. So this here is JJ's Magic. Yes, it is that good. Thank you, Fluke Master, for introducing the world to this stuff. It is amazing stuff, amazing scent for your bass fishing needs. And the majority of the time I'm using, where's it at? I'm using clear, just to get some good scent on there, or I am using, it looks like it's pink, but it comes out orange on your soft plastic. So I keep these in their own box, that way they can't tip over and get anything else stanky in the rest of the boat. So that goes down there. Now the first box that I want to check out is my swim bait box. So this box here is very cool because, like I said, it houses all my swim baits. So in here I've got everything from Brandon Palaniuk's, new Storm Arashi glide bait that he helped design. I've got some mag drafts. I've got, of course, lots of Piz Customs baits. This one here is one of their shad wake baits, dives to about 1 foot. Incredible little swim bait. And then I've got 2 Shadleys. I think it's the Shadley Junior, or maybe it's a different name, something like that. And then I have the Piz Customs Shadley Shad glide bait, gizzard shad. And to accompany the swim baits, I've got a lot of my bigger lures. So I've got some bigger Topwaters, some bigger square bills. And then, of course, the top houses all of my Huddlestons, which I don't throw very often, but I kind of probably should start to, because I think the pressure on those is getting less, so they might start getting more bites here in Central Texas at least. And then I've got some extra little glide baits, the River to Sea. I've got a Livingston, and I've got some discontinued Huddleston swim baits here, courtesy of Matt Allen and Tim Little for giving me these. I don't even want to throw these because they're so rare and discontinued, so I just leave them in there. But that is my swim bait box. Let's move on to the terminal tackle. My terminal tackle box is a Bass Mafia, as you can tell from the red coloring. I use Bass Mafia for terminal just because it's really durable, it's waterproof, all that jazz. And so when we open it up, I like to keep all terminal in one box. I don't really have enough terminal tackle to separate it into multiple boxes. And so down here, I've got swim bait heads, Ned rig and shaky head areas. Down here, I've got some blades, some bobber stoppers, extra treble hooks, swivels, drop shot weights, tungsten weights in general. I've got wacky hooks here and here. I've got some weighted swim bait hooks here. Then of course I've got all the Outcast money jigs right here. I've got some more swim bait hooks and tube hooks. Then I've got wobble heads and Tokyo rig hooks. And then up here I have flippin' hooks and 5/0 hooks. Then I've got 4/0, 4/0, and 3/0. And then I've got my Texas rig drop shot. So it's kind of a very complicated mess of things if you didn't know my tackle box very well, but I like to keep everything kind of swim bait down here, shaky head Ned rig here, drop shot wacky rig here, and then Texas rig, flipping up in the top. So that is how I organize my terminal tackle box. Let's move on to how many other boxes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 6 more boxes, starting with my reaction baits. So in this box here, I have my jerkbait box. Now I do have plenty more jerkbaits at home, but this is just the majority of the ones that I use across the country. I do have some spy baits in this side as well, but I've got some Duo Realis, and I've got a ton of Strike King, and then I've got some Academy brand H2O Express, really ranging from my deep diving ones here on the left, kind of medium diving here, to my shallow diving jerkbaits here, and of course the spy baits fit in that corner over there. So that's how I fit my jerkbaits. They are in a jerkbait box. I think it's a jerkbait and crankbait box. This is not meant for your jigs, for your soft plastics, that kind of stuff, for your hooks. This is a box that I think the Plano Elite, they make it for your jerkbaits. And then I've got a few boxes of crankbaits. So looking at this box here, I have not organized these in a while, so beware to you guys, I haven't really organized them. But I have some shallow diving crankbaits in crawfish colors and shad colors. Some poppers laying around, not sure why those are in there. Then I've got some kind of medium diving crankbaits, and these two of all different colors. And then I've got some deep-ish diving. So these are like a DD22, a 5XD, 4XDs, that kind of stuff is in here because my deep crank box Is it in here? Yeah, I think it's right over there. So that is all that I have in the tackle box for like shallow to medium diving crankbaits. Then I'm gonna skip these two here. I'm gonna go to this box. This is my square bill box. So in the fall and the spring, I have a square bill tied on every single time I go in the water because they just catch that many fish. So I've got everything from Lucky Crafts to 6 Sense, Rattle Trap, lots of 6 Sense. I've got Strike Kings. I've got a few crankbaits that should not be in here, especially that one. I've got some bigger Strike King crankbaits, and then I've got some more 6 Sense, the L7, one of my favorites here. And then I've got some kind of square bill wake baits. So this is my square bill and shallow crankbait box, one of my most packed boxes here on the boat. And then I have my rattle trap box. This box does not honestly get a whole lot of play unless I am in the pre-spawn or somewhere where it's cold, the winter pre-spawn. So as you can see, I've got a lot of red lipless crankbaits and rattle traps. I've got some 6 Sense in there, I've got some Strike King. As you can see, that one has caught quite a few fish. They've worn almost all the paint off. So that is my rattle trap box. I've also got a few red crankbaits laying around. Like I mentioned, none of this is super organized right now, especially since I didn't use any of this the past 3 to 4 months. Now, of course, here in 3 months, when it's November and December in Texas, this box will start getting play again. And to continue with the crankbaits, this here is my deep crankbait box. I don't throw a whole lot of these. I probably will start throwing a lot of these soon, but like I mentioned, summer is winding down, so probably not a whole lot. But I've got every brand in here, from mostly Strike King. I've got some Spro, I've got some Academy brand, I've got some Janko, really a whole lot of different lures. My favorite, as everybody's is the 6XD. You can't deny it. It's the best deep crankbait out there. And so that is my deep crankbait box. Again, is the same exact box as the jerkbait one was, because it fits crankbaits better. They have a giant bill, and they don't fit in any other box. And the 2 more boxes that I have are my jig box and my Topwater. So the jig box here really doesn't change all year. I keep a lot of the same jigs in here. I've got some jigging spoons. I've got some jig-headed swim baits. Of course, I've got chatterbaits. I've got finesse jigs. I don't know what all of these extra lures are doing in here. Then of course I've got some Outcast stuff. I've got the juice jig, I've got some football jigs, I've got Outcast finesse jigs. I really keep my jig box very simple. I don't lose a whole lot of jigs. It's really hard if you're in a bass boat to lose a jig unless it's to a pike or you get it stuck so deep that you can't get it out. But most of the time I don't lose that many jigs. So I keep my jig box pretty simple. It is a little bit depleted right now. I have to make an Outcast order to get some more. This is my Stealth Fighter jig that I flip in docks and everything. So that right there is my jig box, one of my favorites that I am pulling out every single time I'm on the water. And the lax box is a Topwater slash, I'd say, day box, so they're slash pond box. So this box here is everything that I have in it for when I fish a pond, for of course when I'm going topwater fishing, and when I'm fishing in somebody else's boat. So let's say I'm fishing in my buddy Alton Jr.'s boat like I was a few days ago, and he says, hey, they're biting on a chatterbait, a big worm, and a topwater plopper. So I put a topwater plopper in there, I put some big worm stuff, and I also put some jigs just to mix it up. And of course you gotta add in a swim bait or two. And so this is my box that is very fluid. This thing is changing on a tri-weekly basis. 3 times a week this box has something different in it depending on where I'm going and where I'm fishing. And then this bag here, the Bassmaster bag, this of course is my kayak soft plastics bag. So in here, when I'm fishing in my kayak, I will put all of my soft plastics, my pliers, my scissors in this. And right now that is the state that it is in. It is my kayak bag that I had. I have some hair jigs, I have some Ned rig stuff, I've got some Topwater buzz toads or super toads. What else do I got? I got some structure bugs, all sorts of stuff in here. Some drop shot baits. Really, this is kind of my all-purpose soft plastic bag. And if I'm fishing crankbaits a lot, this thing will have all of my additional treble hooks for replacing crankbait hooks in there as well. But that is all that I have for you guys today. Of course, if you guys did not go to the video beforehand, as I warned you guys, make sure you guys check out the video that I filmed beforehand. And of course, thanks for watching. It is a pleasure for me to be able to bring you guys along my journeys with me and to show you guys some of the cool stuff that I'm able to use because of your support. Without you guys watching the videos and supporting my sponsors, I would not be able to have the setup that I do. I never take it for granted, and I worked incredibly hard for this. This is not daddy's money, this is my money. I worked hard, and it's all thanks to you guys. So if you guys have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of TRF.